Hi friends, welcome to my studio and welcome to a new video. Today I want to do something quick and fun. There is a new series I started on my Instagram where I do quick and very loose and very simple watercolor flowers that anybody can try with any skill level, and these tutorials can be modified to any watercolors that you have. These don't have to be professional ones. You don't have to use the specific colors that I'm using. You can just try to do your best with whatever you have. And here is one example of what we're gonna do. These are the irises that I did with my students in my watercolor class. And the beauty of this technique is that when you go in without following references, without following any precise sketches, you kind of open your mind to the unexpected and you embrace the mistakes instead of trying to be very perfect with your details, with the overall look. So these are always turning out different for me because you can just go in loosely and let the watercolor do its thing, let the colors mix, and just enjoy the process of painting. So let's jump right in. So supplies I'm going to be using today is a 9x12 sheet of my favorite artist watercolor paper. This is called Press, and these pads are a little bit cheaper than their blocks. The blocks are the ones that are glued on all sides, and these are the ones that are just glued at the top. But the paper is just as good, it's a beautiful quality, and it's affordable price. I'm gonna be using a size 10 round brush, but feel free to go even bigger. Actually, the more paint and water you're able to pick up for this, the more interesting results you're gonna get. And my favorite brush cleaner that I've been using for just 2 months, but you can see that it's been well used and loved, and it's a beautiful cleaner for its purpose. And I'm gonna be using my watercolor palettes, which is a setup that I created for myself. So these are just a bunch of random colors that I like to use. And the primary colors I'm gonna be using today are ultramarine blue, quinacridone red, gamboge, sap green, quinacridone gold, and forest green. But the beauty of this is you can modify this to the palette you have and just try to experiment with different colors that you have on hand. This doesn't have to be specific to my palette. Alright, so let's start with pre-mixing colors first. The thing that I like to do when I am pre-mixing colors for loose paintings, I don't like to over mix them. So I'm gonna get some quinacridone red on its own, just making sure I'm picking up a lot of pigments that would last me for a few flowers. We're gonna be using a lot of pigment to have colorful results. I'm also gonna put a little bit of this quinacridone red on the side here because I will pre-mix a little bit of purple. Alright, so, and you can see how nicely that textured bottom cleans the brushes. If you haven't seen the full review, you can see it in my landscape painting video. Alright, so now I'm gonna pick up some ultramarine blue on its own. I'm just creating kind of a working mixture for me where the paint is ready for me to pick up. It eliminates contamination of the pigments on my palette, so I'm not reaching for something with a dirty brush. And I'm also gonna put some here where I can pre-mix a little bit of my ultramarine blue and quinacridone red, but I'm still gonna drop a little bit more red here, so if I need a little extra I can just pull that right into my mix. And I'm going to pre-mix a warm green with sap green. And you can see how different water containers come in handy. So I able to get a clean brush and make sure that I have some clean water to pick up as well. And I'm gonna get some quinacridone gold, which is gonna make a beautiful olive green color. For a warmer greens. And I'm also gonna get some forest green, just for a contrast, to have some cooler greens on my palette as well. If you don't have forest green, you can just use sap green and ultramarine blue or any kind of blue just to make your green a little bit darker. Alright, and one last thing I'm gonna do. So this is a clean mix. I'm gonna pick up some gamboge. That's for that inside part of the iris flower. And I'm just gonna put it on my palette here just to have it ready again, so I don't have to reach for it with a dirty brush. With just diluted ultramarine blue for a light blue color for the top of my petal. And I like to keep these petals very textured, so I'm gonna go in more like a sculptor and just give a nice shape to this petal. And right on the side I can pick up, actually mix a light, very light version here of sort of like a lavender color with my quinacridone red. I think I'm gonna pick up even more of the pink here. You see, I'm not even fixing, I'm just going right in with the new color. And I let them mix on the palette. And I'm leaving a little bit of space between them, so you do have a little bit of that separation between the two different petals, but you can let them touch a little bit kind of in the middle here. Now for the bottom petals, I'm gonna use a more intense blue. I can even pick up more ultramarine to make sure I really have nice saturated color. And I'm gonna start at the top here. I'm gonna leave out a little sort of a triangle of just the white paper. That's where I'm gonna put that yellow color of the gamboge. So you see, since we're working wet and wet, I want to preserve a little bit of the paper to let it pick up some of that yellow once we add it. And I'm gonna go right in with some intense quinacridone red. Just gonna drop it right in there in a couple of spots here and there and let it mix. And now the next one, I'm actually gonna start with more intense purple. This is the mix of our ultramarine blue and quinacridone red. And now at the top here, I'm gonna let these top and bottom petals touch. So it's gonna push our more intense ink from the bottom petals into the top petals. And now, even though I know that yellow and purple are complementary and they kind of make muddy mixes when they mix together, since we do have some of this white of the paper preserved, we kind of safe in there to go in with our gamboge. And if the colors do mix, that's fine. It makes a very nice, pretty effect. You can drop it some on the side here as well. And we have our first flower. I'm also gonna give some green leaves. And I'm gonna pick up some of the forest green for the stem of the flower, since that part is sort of in the shadow, so it's gonna have a bit cooler tone. And we have one iris. And now we're just gonna continue doing the same thing, just playing around with variations for our petals, for our leaves. So I want to go in again with a lighter blue color for the top petal, and then I'm gonna mix sort of purplish tint. It's still more on the pink side with my quinacridone red. And now going in with more intense blue, and you can also just pick up colors straight from your palette and drop them into your painting. I'm picking up some more blue again. And I'm also gonna get some of the red and drop it right in there. Since we're working wet in wet with a lot of kind of moisture, we are not risking creating those cauliflower blooming effects, because all of our mixes are still wet while we are adding new colors. It's when some of your mixes starting to dry up and then you get area with less moisture and you're adding a new mix that has a lot of water in it, so that kind of starts messing up with the nice textures of watercolors and creating that cauliflower effect, which is still fine sometimes. I know a lot of artists use that, and it doesn't have to be anything absolutely perfect. And we have another one. And I'm gonna give this one sort of like a flower bud. We're also gonna let the beautiful colors mix and do their thing. throwing it a little bit more quinacridone gold in there to warm up that color. And I'm gonna try one more now with slightly lighter colors overall. So our top color is gonna be a little lighter with just more diluted paint. And our bottom colors as well. And now I'm just kind of mixing a bit of everything together. Still letting kind of these colors just mix on the paper. And maybe I'll drop one kind of on the background there. Just one more petal for a bit more flair in the back. Alright, so now we can add our gamboge. This is going to be a little bit more brighter for this one. And our leaves. And I'm letting my green touch the purples and blues. And kind of letting them all mix together. I think we can add a bit more greenery in here. So I'm just gonna use up all of the green paints that I have. And for this we can actually make it a little bit more diluted, so that we are putting some of the colors, some of the leaves more into the background, sort of creating depth. I'm also going to pick up some blue in there as well. That would help to push our leaves even further into the background. Whenever we have some of the cooler colors, they sort of recede more into the distance. And there we have our beautiful loose watercolor irises that are improvised and are like nobody else's, that are all of our own. And as you can see, they turn out differently every time when you are letting the watercolors just do their things and mix on their own, you are creating more of an unexpected variety and adding a lot of interesting elements to your paintings. So this style is fun to experiment with, it's fun to do without having a lot of pressure to meet any kind of expectations for being very precise and getting very specific details. I like to do this just to relax and just to enjoy my time with watercolors. So I hope you enjoyed this one too. If you like it, please give it thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I'm posting a lot of videos for gouaches, watercolors, and a lot of different mediums. And I also have my sketchbook club on Patreon. If you like to check it out, please go ahead. I post weekly sketchbook prompts and we sketch and support each other and trying to stay consistent with our creative process. So I would love to see you there as well. So I hope you enjoyed the video and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.